Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Zero to Empire podcast. On this episode, I have Frank Dorrien, and he is the founder of Frank Coaching Consulting. And he's going to be going about his story, what actually inspired him to become a coach, and how he's actually changing lives all across America. And you don't want to miss out on this episode. There's going to be a lot of insight and valuable things to listen to. So make sure to stay tuned. And thanks again, Frank, for being on this episode. And what actually inspired you to leave executive leadership and start coaching?
Thank you so much for having me. Um, After 3 years of being in the software technology, or 3 decades, I should say, being in software and technology, I had an epiphany. And when I look back on my career, I realized that being involved in early stage startups all the way to large enterprise companies, there was a lot of exciting things that went on. And the one common denominator between this was the crucial conversations that I had with people. These conversations were very strategic. I was helping people grow, helping people move forward. I was helping set the strategy for the company. I was setting strategy to win deals. So being involved in that, I really felt that that was a key to making me not only successful in my career, but also giving me the most joy and reward. So I thought long and hard about it, and I said, "There's nothing that I enjoy more." And at this point in my career, I want to just work on what I enjoy. So I took the time to become a certified executive coach, and I founded Frank Coaching and Consulting.
That's solid. And I'm glad to hear it. And when it comes to your ideal niche, we talked about this before the podcast, but it's the startup leaders. And what about them actually energizes you the most?
What energizes me a lot about startup leaders is really their audacity, and I mean that as a compliment. We're talking about people that decide to really take an idea and move it forward, and to really bet their life, their future on it. So somebody that has that type of you know commitment is somebody that I really want to work with, and I want to help. Um, Along the way, there's something really infectious about their optimism when they're building their company out. They also have some really tough times, and I feel as a coach, being able to provide the years of experience I had and help them understand and partner with them really is a rewarding part of my business.
Oh, yes, that's a great niche. And that's awesome that you're making that impact on these founders. And when it actually comes to working with them, what's the type of strengths you typically, or do they typically bring to the table?
And so I would say that when I work with a founder, the first thing that really impresses me is their intelligence. That most of these founders are building something that hasn't been built before, or they're doing it in a completely different way. So their intelligence, their way of figuring these things out and moving forward is just incredible. The second part, as I said, is they have a lot of courage. They're able to, go out and do many things. A lot of them have to get out of their comfort zone, especially if they're, tech people that are really focused on the tech. Now they have to get out and talk to other people. They have to talk to potential customers. They're talking to investors, and they're really being prophets to get their idea across and their business across. And third, I think, is their adaptability. When I look at founders, especially in the early stages, they need to understand what they believe and what they're doing may not be in line with what the market wants, and their ability to understand that and willingness to pivot. So those really are the characteristics that I find in leaders that excite me to work with them.
Yes, those are very key strengths to have. And what's actually one client like story that you've experienced us so far that's really struck with you?
Yeah, so I have several, but I think one that strikes with me, and I think a lot of people can understand, is I was working with a client who had a co-founder, and I was coaching only one of them. The co-founder was halfway around the world and responsible for the tech, and my client, the founder of this startup, was responsible basically for everything else. And what I found is coaching this founder is he was very frustrated that he was doing everything and that his co-founder was not really, chipping in where he felt he should. And in talking through this and working on the founder's, self-awareness and situational awareness, we're able to really repaint the situation and put him in a different perspective and allow him to have a very constructive dialogue with his co-founder, and then actually moved to a much stronger relationship, and where they were communicated a lot better. And I really feel that it helped get the company back on track and starting to advance as fast as it needed to.
Oh yes, that sounds like a very big, important change you made for their company, and it's made a very positive output as a byproduct of that. And
Mhm.
can you actually walk us through what a typical coaching engagement with you looks like?
Sure. So as when I enter into an engagement, um, we obviously want to set up front what the objective is. And this objective, we usually give ourselves 6 to 12 months to work through. I like to define that objective as a North Star. And that North Star is the goal we're working for and pushing forward. Typically, we'll set that with the founder. The founder may sometimes bring in, a board member or investor, so they're all in agreement on what they're going to move forward with. And then as we have established this is the objective, we take a time to get some data. And the data we get is three key pieces. The founder themselves will fill out what we call a leader's dashboard. And that is really filling out, his mission, vision, values, goals, what are the objectives, really getting everything down that he wants to make sure is the focal point of the business and where he's driving it. At the same time, I like to talk to the people around him. I call that a 360. And it's verbal. I typically try to do it verbally rather than having people have to fill out the questionnaires. And in that verbal 360, I gather the information, how others feel about this leader and what they do well. And then the third piece is an assessment. A lot of times people have already taken behavioral assessments and we can leverage that. Otherwise, we'll bring in a tool that fits best for the situation we're working on. And we'll bring in this assessment tool. And then we're really getting to understand what the assessment says about the leader, what their strengths, weaknesses are, what type of personality, what their behaviors are, and get that. And by taking those three pieces of data, we have a strong foundation to move forward with the coaching. And that coaching helps us push forward on our North Star and moving towards the goal, and allows us to talk about that. But each time we feel that we're drifting, we're able to take that data that we've gathered and make sure that the client that I'm coaching is really comfortable with understanding why they're being challenged to do some things or why something is not happening the way they would like it to happen, to move forward. And then typically, as the engagement goes, we'll move from having weekly sessions to then go into bi-weekly sessions. Weekly sessions are real helpful in the beginning because it builds the discipline. Also, when you're working with a founder, they're very busy. So it's none unusual for us to have to reschedule and move appointments around. So if you're only missing one and it doesn't cost you to be set back, for multiple weeks, it's very helpful.
That's solid. And that's great to hear. It's a very unique approach
Mhm.
to going about your clients. And what would you say is one of the most common challenges the founders and your ideal clientele usually face, and how they usually overcome it?
Yeah. So when I look at the founders, in the most part, they are very focused on their desire to build the best product or service that they're working on. But when you look at the other areas that are associated with building out a company, whether it's building a team and really understanding what that structure of the team is, if it's talking to the outside, and that could be customers and building out a sales process, to move forward and to make it scalable. And also when you're talking to investors, those are the pain points that a lot of founders have not prepared themselves for. And what I find in coaching is being able to help them be prepared for those situations, and also have them understand that the decisions they make need to be focused on scaling the business, so that they do have long-term growth and it's not just a temporary fix. And it helps a lot. So whether it's a decision to, make the next hire in the organization, or to go to an industry analyst and make sure that what they're building is really suited for the industry, those types of decisions are really important in getting a founder to lift their head up from building their perfect solution to looking at that is really where I find coaching comes in, and I'm able to help them.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad you're able to help them do that. And where can those actually interested in your coaching find and reach out to you by?
So my website is frankcoaching.com, and my email is frank@frankcoaching.com. And I'm obviously on LinkedIn also. So please reach out to me.
That's solid, Frank. And make sure to go check him out if you'd like to get his coaching. And it was great having you on the episode. And thanks so much for everyone for listening and watching in on this episode of Zero to Empire. And I'll see everyone in the next episode.